Hey guys, uh, it's Joyfield Gamer here, and I wanted to thank you for the support. And I have an idea of what to do for more in the story of what if Asta was the reincarnation of Link. So let's not waste any time and let's get into this. Last time we left off, I was saying that Asta didn't lose most of his emotions. He just still keeps silent. He's not as goofy as he is with people he knows, or outside the group that he knows. He's just someone that looks serious and quiet, like he keeps to himself. And then let's just skip to the grimoire ceremony. So in the grimoire ceremony, let's before it happened, Asta is changing and getting on his clothes, and he sees his grimoire, the grimoire that his brother was stored into, and he just hides it in his small. Let's say he has a jacket. So pretty much he puts it on his jacket, like under his jacket, or he hides it somewhere. I don't know where, but. Then they go to the grimoire ceremony. It's the same thing as canon when Yuno gets a 4-leaf, but for Zelda, it's a bit different. Her grimoire starts shining bright, such an amazing light that everyone just blocks their eyes to avoid getting that, since the light is so bright, and it starts heading to Zelda, the book, and everyone sees it's a 4-leaf grimoire also, which everyone was shocked that 2 people have 4-leaf grimoires. Since Asta didn't get one, he pretty much just tries to walk away. But then people see a dark aura emanating from Asta, but then it starts turning blue for some reason. Asta remembers that he is carrying the book, the grimoire that his brother is imprisoned in. And he takes it out, and he sees that the book is changing. It looks almost the same as Zelda. And let me give you a bit of a detail saying there's triangles in each corner of the book, front and back. In the front, there's a 5-leaf in front of Asta's grimoire, and in the back there's 3 triangles that make a bigger triangle, with the 5-leaf in the center, which is the Triforce that's surrounding the 5-leaf. Asta looks at the book, and then the only thing he come up with is a smirk, and just whispering to the book, saying, "What took you so long?" With everyone seeing that and also the 5-leaf can also be seen, and also thought it was strange that a book was able to change right in front of their eyes. All of the nobles and commoners were happy that 3 people have amazing grimoires, 1 with 5-leaf and 2 with 4-leaf. Let's say some of the commoners don't know what the 5-leaf mean, which are amazing, but some of the commoners are actually scared because they know what the 5-leaf grimoire means, because it has a demon inside of it. And also the 2 books of Zelda and Link are different. For Zelda, it looks like a golden-ish color, that's yellow and golden. In Link's, it's just blue. And you can see the yellow, the golden-ish corners with triangles, and also the Triforce that is gold. So pretty much all of them leave the Grimoire Tower. The same thing in canon as Yuno gets harassed, but with Zelda, they mostly harass her for saying "marry me," or they force to grab their arms. They grab her by force and try to take them. But with Yuno just stopping them, saying you let go of her. With the noble stating, "What, a commoner like you being with a goddess like her? Please, it would be better if such a noble like I be in my presence." With Yuno being just get angry from this comment, just using his magic to blow wind on their face. But and Asta is like on top of the Grimoire Tower, just checking out like what the book that his brother is in contains, and he just sees one page that's empty, which like says, "Really, that's all you've got?" But then he just sees the first page. He doesn't know what the language is, but he says, "Okay, since I only have one page of a spell, at least it's better than nothing." And then he hears a bit of a like metal like sound that's clinging. Then he just looks like on the side of the tower where he was. He sees a type of mage that has magic with chains, like the chain mage, pretty much grabbing both Yuno and Zelda. And he pretty much gets the two grimoires that they both drop and saying, "These two grimoires I'll be taking. And then I'll sell them at the black market. Someone must be taking good for an art piece." Asta, seeing this, just jumps off and gets ready and reels back and gets ready to punch the guy to the ground. Once he sees, and also when he stares at Zelda, he gives off a creepy stare, like a creep, and he just says, "Maybe I can have some fun with you before I go." But before he can finish the sentence, he was punched to the ground, saying, "Get your give back their grimoires," which was Asta punching him to the ground. And also, if you didn't know, Link is superhuman. He has superhuman abilities. He is fast. He is almost like able to like dodge lightning or something, and like he is strong. He's able to lift a really big boulder with just bracelets, and also on his own, he's able to like he is superhuman. So pretty much, he punches him so hard on the ground, and since he didn't have his guard up, the chains were loose enough so both Zelda and Yuno got out. The chain mage got up and was super pissed, saying, "How dare you punch me, you brat!" So pretty much, the chain mage attacks Asta, but the thing is that he's able to slow down his perception of time, and his reaction speed is really fast. So pretty much everything is going in slow-mo for Austin. He's able to dodge it really well, which the chain mage saying, "What the hell? Why am I not hitting him? Damn it!" Then Yuno attacks him with a wind spell, but the chain mage was able to guard with a wall of chains, and then tries to capture Yuno and Zelda again. But Zelda is able to teleport with a bit of her light magic. Like Legend of Zelda? No, sorry, not Legend of Zelda. In Smash Bros, where Zelda can teleport? It's like that, but there's like light that's emanating from under her that she's teleporting to dodge the chains. And then pretty much Asta and Yuno both punch him towards Zelda, and Zelda attacks him with a bow with an arrow of light, if you get the reference. So pretty much they attack him, and then he gets put into a wall with a last attack that he can muster. But while Yuno and Zelda were not on guard, they would get attacked with the book of Asta's grimoire emanating and opening to the page where he last saw. He instinctively started running and pulled out the sword, then destroying the chains and hitting the chain mage towards the wall, even past the wall, making a giant hole in it. And he was knocked out after that. Pretty much, after that, you, uh, Yuno and Asta still do the same thing, and Asta just goes and grabs the book. Well, sorry, the grimoire, and gives it back to both Zelda and Yuno. Then, for out of excitement, Navi comes out and says, "Congratulations, Asta! You actually got your grimoire. Now you can finally you're getting a step closer to becoming the Wizard King." Both Zelda and were surprised by this and jumped back a bit, saying stating, "What is that little ball of light thing?" And saying, "You got some," just stating, "Who or what are you?" And Navi just says, "Oh, how rude of me. I'm Navi, and I am a fairy," she kindly said, and both and Zelda were surprised with Zelda stating, "A fairy? A real fairy?" Like she looks like a child, saying a fairy, like an actual little fairy tale that's right in front of her. And she stated, "I thought you would be more." And Navi says, "Tinier? Yeah, that's how. It's just how people think that we would look like. But actually, we're just like this, actually." And then when they were talking of what Navi was, and Nasta explaining how he met Navi, and he asked her to just hide until he's ready to tell them who she is and how she helped him with all the trauma he went through in the past, but he's not stating of what he went through. So pretty much they said they thought Navi was a good soul in a way. So pretty much they just let it be. But then they hear a weird voice when they were passing through the forest to get home to the church, since it's a shortcut for them. But then they hear a voice stating, "Hero, you are being summoned." Which all of them were shocked, and even Navi, but she felt like she heard this voice before. She just states, she just says, "What's going on? Is anyone there?" And the voice just repeats saying, "Hero, you are being summoned. Please go whichever direction." And for some reason, Asta just felt like he should. Like there's a feeling that he knows this voice. He's following it. So he starts walking, and everyone's just saying, "Are you crazy for walking towards an ominous voice in the forest? What if it's an assassin to kill us? And just a friend of that mage guy that tried to take away our grimoires?" Asha just turns around saying, "I don't think it's an enemy. It feels like it's someone we can trust." Zelda states in a bit of a scared voice, saying, "How do you know about that then? Can you explain?" With Asta just stating, "No, it's just a feeling that I have, and I'm trusting my gut on this." And so pretty much, Asta just goes walking towards the voice where the voice said to go, and it's giving directions. With Yuno and Zelda and Navi in the back, kind of scared, looking frantically looking around to see if it's actually a trap or not. But then a few minutes or seconds later, they run into an abandoned building. With Zelda and Yuno stated, "Okay, it's a trap, I gotta go, bye." With just Asta walking inside, them stating, "Are you kidding me?" So they just hear rustling in the background, and they said, just used magic, but it's just a bunny. Just a small bunny. But then a beast came behind it, was behind it, a magical beast, and they both said, "You know what? We're gonna go back. We're gonna go inside." With Asta just looks around, just moves some of the rips some of the vines off the wall, seeing weird paintings of someone in green with a sword, and one that looks like a man with red, orangish hair, and one that is flying in the sky with a weird giant bird, and one that looks like it's a small, like there's a small version of the person, but then behind it is the same, is like someone else that's bigger than him or taller than him. Then he hears the same voice. "Hero, you are being summoned. Please walk forward and take a left." With Yuno and Zelda right behind him saying, if we get back from here, I am going to kill you, Asta," Zelda stating, pretty much. So they keep walking, and they see they see a hallway that goes two directions, forward and to the left, with a light emanating from it. And then Asta decides to go to the left, which, like the voice said, it would say. And then he just says, the only thing he can say is, "Whoa," which kind of, like, the other two, both Zelda and Yuna, thought of maybe it's fine and nothing bad sat there. So they slowly, like, started walking towards that weird passageway, like that weird opening. And then when they get to there, the only thing they can say is the same thing as Asta said. "Whoa." They were in complete awe, seeing that a sword is in a pedestal. A small amount of sunlight is emanating from the top, and there's a shallow amount of fog covering the floor, and small animals like bunnies, squirrels, and birds are surrounding this sword, and it just looks, in their minds, amazing and beautiful. And Asta starts walking up to it, and with Zelda and Yuna stopping him for a bit, saying, "Are you sure this is safe?" Him just saying that, "I don't know. I just want to take a closer look. Is that fine?" And they just say, "Sure, but be careful." So they let go of his shoulder, and then he just walks towards the sword, and he gets closer to it. And then he just kind of looks at the sword, saying, like the little images, like a triangle on the sword. He's like, "What does this triangle mean?" Or something. "What is this triangle, and why is this design?" and stuff like that. Then it started glowing blue, like a blue aura is emanating from the sword. It's like pulsing. And then he heard the voice again. "Hero, please pull the sword out of the stone." Saying, "Who are you? Show yourself." And she says, "If I show myself, will that make you feel more safer and get down your guard?" He said, "Depending if you mean harm or are you an ally." She states, I mean no harm to you or your friends. I am here to guide you and help you." And then Asta said, "Then show yourself," she said. And the boy said, "Very well." Then she came out of the sword. Everyone saw that something came out of the sword, and she says, "Hello, hello, master. You are the hello." And everyone just got kind of scared. Asta, being the closest, stumbled back and fell on his butt. And then she's stating, "You don't need to worry. I mean no harm." Which with Asta states, "What are you? And who are you?" She says, and then this weird looking female thing says, "I'm very sorry. How rude of me. My name is Fee, and I am the spirit of this sword." And he says, "Spirit of the sword? Did you die or something?" Asta states, saying, "No, I did not die. I was created." And Zelda said, "How? What do you mean created?" She said, the goddess has created me and has chosen a hero. You are the hero." Which she looks at Asta, and everyone means, "What do you?" And Yuno says, "What do you mean by hero? How can this guy be a hero?" She says, "Well, he's not the first. He's actually one of many heroes throughout time and history. But since there has been a certain time of peace, and the legend of the hero has faded." Everyone's saying, "What do you mean, legend of the hero?" And she just gives them a rundown. She just gives them a quick rundown of what the hero is and what his job is to do. And Asta's saying, "Oh, so who's the hero?" And she just says, "It's you." Saying, "How am I the hero?" Well, she says, "There's something that emanates with you, not just by power or by strength, but it's just something that the Master Sword decided to choose you." And also saying, "Well, isn't that ominous?" But pretty much with just Fee saying, "Please, Master, can you please pull out the sword and point it skyward?" With Asta saying, "Yeah, okay." He pretty much puts his hands on the sword and he starts pulling it out. It was easier for him. It was just easy pulling it out, and blue light was emanating under the sword from which he was pulling the sword out. Then he points it up skyward with a light was surrounding and emanating the sword with it. And then she says, "Analysis complete. New master's name is Asta. Okay, hello, Master Asta." With Asta saying, "Please drop the master thing. It's kind of weird." "You don't want me to call you master?" What Lee said. And with him, just Asta says, "Yeah, it's too formal for me. I'm not that type of guy. Just drop the formalities." With Fee just stating, "Okay, then Asta then." And then she says, "Oh, I almost forgot. There are some gifts for the next hero, which is you. That is from the goddess and the past heroes themselves." With Asta stating, "What? What do you mean by past gifts?" "If you may follow me, please, I may show you where the gifts are residing." He says, "Yeah, sure." So pretty much, Zelda and Yuno were like completely jaw dropping, saying like just the only thing they can think is like, "What?" They couldn't think of anything else, but they were like saying the only thing they can say is, "Are we not going to talk about something that came out that appeared out of the sword and some reason he is what?" They were completely. It took so much information. It was so much information for them to take in. They pretty much said, "Wait, please give us some time to like just absorb, like think and which Asta said, yeah, okay." And Yuno says, "And you're acting like this is nothing?" Yuno said, pretty much, and Asta says, "Well, it is a lot to take in, but it's also something that's like understandable." Also, so yeah, it's fine. Because remember, Asta, like, this Asta is like someone that's responsible and like he takes his some of the work he does very seriously, and sometimes he's someone that goofs off with like people he knows and stuff like that. So pretty much, Fee, I don't remember how to say it, Fee takes Asta to a room, a wall, but it's slightly open, which Fee says, strange. And Asta says, how is it strange? Because she said, this is supposed to be a secret room that only I and the other heroes, well, only I and other heroes should know about this. And also, and Yuno states maybe someone accidentally found it when they stumbled across this place while you were in that pedestal or stone or whatever. And Fee just states, yes, maybe, but either way, let's go. So she floats down the stairs, and when Asta started going down, the lights were emanating. Like fire was going out of the torches, like out of nowhere. So he cautiously went down the stairs. When they went down the stairs, they see a library. And Zelda was like, why is there a library here? Is the gifts for him books or something? And pretty much Feast states, no, this is actually a cover-up, so you can cover the secret of where the actual gifts are. To see if any bandits try to take anything away from us, they just see books and anything else. Useless information for them. And Zelda sees a weird book saying, what is this? This shows you all the information of technology in the past. Some called the Sheikah Slate. I forgot what they're called. Sorry. I can't remember. You can tell me in the comics. The Sheikah technology, in the past of which the hero used to use to actually save Hyrule and also help create new Hyrule. But it's called the Black Clover now, because through the ages as it's lost its name and its history, they decided to rename this part of the land Black Clover, the Clover Kingdom, and also other kingdoms that are separated. So, pretty much, she says, which Zelda wasn't able to understand, but asked if she can translate it for her, which Zelda was amazed and also really interested in this type of technology and things. And then she says, what is this thing? Which is a picture of more like a image of the tablet, Shikai tablet, for the hero that you use in Breath of the Wild. Fee says, this is actually a Shikai tablet. There are very few Hylians and individuals that can use this. One of the people are the hero, and also the goddess, or also known as Princess Zelda. When Zelda heard this, and she said, "What? Princess Zelda? But I'm not a princess. I'm a commoner." And she said, "Yes, you may be a commoner now, but in your last life you were a princess. You were royalty, or I should say, you technically still are." Which confused and shocked Zelda, and she says, "What do you mean?" Fee states, "I don't know. That's the only thing I can see from you right now." And then, pretty much, Fee is stating this, and Asta says, so just reminds them, saying, like coughing, saying, so, where is this gift? Where are these gifts you're supposed to give me? If you don't mind me asking. With Fee saying, yes, sorry. Well, it's hidden. Only the hero shall know. I don't know where it is exactly, but I only know it's in this exact room. Only you can figure it out, not me. So pretty much Asta says, well, isn't that helpful? Great. Now I have to... It's like he mumbles, and angrily mumbles. And he says, okay. So pretty much he just leans on the bookshelf. For some reason, there's a bookshelf that just catches his eye with a weird looking pattern. And he just decides to maybe push it. He pushes and it reveals a button that's under there. So he steps on the button. Asta steps on the button, and it slowly rumbles. And Yuno says, "Asta!" He yells at Asta, "Asta, what did you do?" And And Asta states, I don't know, I just pressed a button which felt familiar, that's all! I'm sorry! With the floor splitting open, and some of the bookshelves were like moving with the floor. Like that were going, like leading as stairs. Zelda states saying, I guess you found it. And then they go down there with Fi just lighting the way for them with the Master Sword. Then they make it to a door with the insignia of with the Hyrule with the Triforce, the bird and weird bird look and stuff like that. And Link pushes the door open, which was pretty heavy, but still like he was able to open it like it was nothing. Yuna says, how are you able to open such a door that big? Like with stone that's made out of stone. And Asta says, I don't know, it just felt like a regular old wooden door. Then they see a small room with something on the altar. It's a sheath for this Master Sword. And Faye says, here is one of many gifts. Please, take it. And he just grabs it and holds it. And puts the Master Sword in the sheath. And Fee states, here are many of the gifts, but the way to get it is to stand on the center of the Triforce. Asta said, what's Triforce? Is that a food, or what is that? Is it a material? He said, no, it is actually a power left by the three. Hold on. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Sorry for the sneeze. So pretty much, he states, it's a power left by three goddesses. Hold up. It was created by the three goddesses. Din, the goddess of power. Neru, the goddess of wisdom. And Faror, the goddess of courage. They made this land and this world. And they left one special gift to the people of Hylia, and also maybe its descendants. The Triforce. She goes, and Finn goes to the center of the room, which is like a triangle that's like in the center of the room, which is three triangles to make a bigger triangle. Which both Zelda and Asta look at it and it's like, so wait, is that what's on my book, on my grimoire? That's on my grimoire. And Zelda says, yeah, that's on our grimoire for some reason. Why is that? And Fia says, this may be a theory, but maybe it states that you too are the ones that will defeat the goddesses. No, the demon lord. And then Yuna says, so how do we get their gifts? Him just being sad because he's not part of the group in a way. Asta says, hey, I can give you some of mine if that's what you want. And just states, why would I want anything of yours? But not in a jerk way, it's like more of a playing way. But Asta says, okay, shoot yourself. So he goes to the center, but something is weird. A weird pedestal came up first, and then there's a weird tablet, or weird looking thing in front of him. He grabs it and asks, Fee, what is this? This is the Shigai tablet. The thing that actually helped your past reincarnation, your past life's hero, help defeat the Ganon. And he says, oh, so how do I use it? Only the hero may know, but no one else. Not even me, not even I. But there are some abilities. For example, if you look at this, She points at an icon with a weird looking that has a horse insignia. He says, "Oh, okay." But then he still stands there, and the second thing shows up, but not as a pedestal or an orb. There's a doorway for him. And then the third, there's bracelets. He says, "What are these?" These are power gauntlets. Gauntlets. I don't remember what they're called, so I'm just calling them power gauntlets or power bracelets. These bracelets are able to carry more than your weight, and eat 100 times more than your weight. And Asta says, "Whoa!" So he instantly puts them on, and he says, fits. It fits. And also, he said, "I'm gonna go check what this place is." Well, with Zelda being next, there's just 3 gifts, but something about the third also said something weird. Asta. We go to Asta's point of view right now, and he's going through the hallway, and he sees this weird-looking machine, or this thing, he doesn't know what it is. He goes up to it, and then a weird little stone rises from the ground right in front of the thing, which was almost looks like almost like a suitcase in a way, but it's like a box. And then he says, "Why don't you put the Shikai tablet onto that stone?" And Asta does, which there was a force field that was there, but then it disappeared. And also, let's say Yuno decided to follow Asta to see what was going on, if he's fine or whatever. Then he sees Asta and open the door. Then also Zelda follows because it also showed the same pathway, but it just opened a bit more wider. And then she was there, and then when Asta opened, when the little force field that was covering that little stone box, it was opening. The top part of the box was off, and then 4 orbs were following. One was green, the other was blue, one was yellow, and the other one was red. If I remember, if I repeated myself, I'm sorry. Each one all 4 of them ran to Asta and went and just disappeared when they had contact with him. But there was one more that came out, and it interested Asta the most. And the only thing he can do is think of doing is putting out both of his hands, and he's saying hello in a way. And then the orb slowly goes to Asta's hand. When Asta just holds the orb, he puts it where his heart is. But then he felt a sudden urge of pain. He grunts in pain, stating, "What is happening?" With Fee stating, "This is interesting." I'll say, "What is?" You're getting the abilities of the last champions. Asta saying, "What do you mean?" With 4 different colored lights, red, blue, green, and yellow, emanating from his back. And let's say his clothes were ripped. He sees these 4 insignias. One that looks like an elephant, one that looks like a bird, one a lizard, and one an odd long-shaped, long head, necked animal on his back that were like tattoos in a way. Everyone else saw this, But when the pain was stopped, there was like a triangle that was emitting. The Triforce was emitting in the back of Asta's. It was Asta and Asta's back, pretty much. And then when Zelda was going, there was also a small pedestal for her, but it was more. It showed like something of a more of a hand print. So she decided to put her hand on there, and it just showed a small box, and this box also opened, which emanating an also a weird type of orb, which she grabs, and then when she puts it near her heart, where her heart is, she also feels this pain, but not on her back or anything in her body. She feels it in her right hand. And then then she sees like almost like a tattoo of the Triforce, with one of them colored in, which is, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's the left one. And then it just stopped, with Zelda saying, what was that surge of pain? Why? It says, I don't know why you felt that surge of pain, but that is actually what you have now. You have the abilities of your past lives. Asta says, what do you... And Yuna says pretty much the same thing what Asta said it, but in unison, saying, what do you mean? She says, there is 4 that Asta has, but the 5th one is something of more of a memory. The one is Mifa's grace, the one that can heal, something that can heal wounds, almost any wounds on yours but for yourself. But that's something happened to it. It's different. I'm gonna make it different for each ability, like Mifa's grace, and like if you played the game, you already know. Like he's not gonna have it for like himself. It's gonna be like, it's not gonna be just for himself. It's gonna be for like his allies, his friends. Like he can apply those abilities towards others. Like he can, for Daruk's protection, it can be for someone, like if it's like people, he can put it for someone else. If it's healing, it can also be for someone else that's near death, and also if someone died just now. And then for Vali's Gale, it's going to be slightly different. Instead of just doing a gust of wind on top, like for like the glider, it's going to be like a gust of wind for like, it can be for running, for more speed, gaining more speed, or like so he can jump higher. And for Urbosa's Fury is going to be like almost, it's going to be the same thing. Like you hold for attack, but it's also like he can summon the lightning at will. Like when he gets really angry or like whatever, it's gonna be like almost like luck in a way. It's gonna be kind of like luck. And the 5th one was the hero's knowledge. He's not gonna do it. He's not gonna know the knowledge right now of like the hero Link. Like he gets all the memories, but he has to go through trials to gain their memories, and also the knowledge that they have through their lifetime. And I'm just gonna use like about 3 links for this what if, so it can be easier. It's gonna be like a Airbender situation. Like you can see your last reincarnations, your past lives, and you get their knowledge and stuff like that. For Asta, he's gonna do like a bit of a trial to gain their knowledge and also memories from their past lives. So pretty much, and for Zelda, she has the goddess's sacred light, which can banish all evil and also cleanse, like evil spirits. But it takes a lot of mana to do. But it'll get better, like, it's almost like a Izuku situation. Like it's like 100, if you do go 100% out, or like when you're trying to control like the power in a way. So, said, so is there any gifts for me? Which she states, I don't know. But there's still more gifts for Asta, though, if you don't know. And he says, fine, I'll wait. Asta says, what do you mean more gifts? I thought that was all. He said, remember, you just got the gifts from the goddess herself, not from your past lives. And then she said, follow me, you have to go back to the center of the Triforce. He says, fine, let's go. And let's say he got the grappling hook. He got the bow. He got the whatever other Legend of Zelda item you can say. Right now I'm just going to say for the bow and the grappling hook and how can I forget the Hylian shield? But it's not a gift. It's already on the altar, which I forgot to say, since Link has the iconic Hylian shield, the most strongest shield ever made. And also, let's just say for the third gift, it was like earrings. Asta was confused by saying, why do I have earrings? With Fee saying, those aren't any special, just regular earrings. Those earrings actually help with fire magic. You won't be able to get hurt or burned or feel any pain from any fire magic. Which Asta was like, oh, neat. And asked, can I finally see if I got any gifts? With pretty much Fee stating, of course, you may. Goes to the center of the Triforce, and he gets 3 items as well, which he was actually pretty happy about, that he won't be left out of, left to the side. And Fee just states, it looks like you are also going to play an important role in this. So he gets 3 items. 1, a boomerang. It's, if I remember correctly, it was like a boomerang that can always come back to the user. Then the second is actually a magical sword that let's say the hero once used. This is I know it's not real, but the only sword that he used was pretty much the magical sword was, of course, the Master Sword. But let's say he did at one point. And then there was a ring, which was able to help him contain more mana than he previously does. And then she said, it looks like you've got a lot of amazing things. And he asked, what do these things do? I only see a sword and ring. And what does the ring even do? And she said, the ring is able to contain more magic for you, so you can use more of your magic. And the sword is also magical. It helps you to have almost pretty much the power to use your magic in it. And the boomerang is something that you can actually use to knock out your enemies, so you can actually help, if you're in a bad situation, and you can hit multiple at the same time. Which he says, okay then. But then the sword and the boomerang were actually taken, and turned into little orbs of light and put into the book, the grimoire. He's like, and was pretty much surprised, saying, okay then. So, wait, how much time do we have? Oh, dang, 48. But, I'm still going to continue it, whatever. So pretty much, time passes as canon, and Asta is practicing both with the Demon Slayer, if I remember. Pretty much the sword that he got from the grimoire, and pretty much the Master Sword. And Faye stating, I noticed something about your grimoire. Why does it contain something so evil, yet it's not being destroyed? Asta knew what she was talking about, since, if you don't know, it's pretty much Libe, his adopted older brother. Asta pretends he doesn't know what she's talking about, and she just knows that he's lying, saying, I know that you are lying. Please explain why there is a demon in your book. which also states it's not just a book, it's a grimoire. And fine, my brother is stuck in the grimoire, and I don't know why he's not being killed, even though he's a demon, and this sword can destroy any demon, any dark or evil being, and he states, I don't know why he's not being killed or anything, but he may be a demon, but that doesn't mean he's all bad, okay? And Fee stating, why is that? All demons are evil, and they have an evil purpose. Which us is saying, no, it is not true. He is his own person. He's his own living being. He has his own choices. And he doesn't choose he didn't choose to be born or made this way. It was forced on him. And he's not a bad demon. He is my older brother. Which, I felt confused, had a look of confusion and worry, saying, so you are related to a demon, yet you're gonna have to kill the Demon King? And Asta says, yes, I will. Is that a problem? With Faye saying, no, it is not. A few more days, let's say Asta meets his master on how to use a sword, and he gives him pointers on how to use a sword and techniques, which Asta gets really quickly, which surprises his master, which I forgot the name of. I'm sorry, I am horrible with names. I barely can remember Asta, Yuno, and Zelda, and also Link. But then, like a few weeks before all three of them would leave, something happened when Asta was asleep. He was sleeping, and he in his dream, he was in a room. He was in a space just completely white. There was about, how many are there? There's 1, 2, 3. There's Libe. He saw Libe, and he just tried to run towards him, saying, "Big brother!" like yelling out, like in joy, because it was in the mindscape. And let's say Faye was there, and she says, "So, this is your said older brother?" Libe saying, "Yeah, what you want? Is that a problem?" Faye states, "Yes, the hero needs to be purified from any and all evil." With Libe saying, "I am not corrupting him or doing anything bad. I'm protecting my younger brother and giving him the powers that he deserves to help others, not just himself." With Asta standing between them, saying, stating, "Why don't we all be calm and figure this out without anything going on in my brain? Because I don't know if it will kill me or it will just give me something bad, a headache when I wake up." They both pretty much say, "Fine." And Asta says, "Why don't you two make a deal?" And Libe stating, "What type of deal?" With Lee, I forgot how to say her name already. God damn it, Lee or Lei, whatever you say it. States, "Yes, I would like to understand the terms of this deal." Asta said, I would be able to use his power, but he won't be able to take control of me or anything I do. And through that, and you also don't get to destroy him, but he will also give you the power to destroy any magic or anything else. Which she states, so he gives me abilities and you abilities too, as in destroying magic in the way. Not just that, but also not corrupting the sword. And he states, yes, it won't corrupt the sword or anything. And also saying, right, Libe? With Libe stating, saying, fine, I guess I don't want to be killed, but she will only stand, and he said that she won't get in his way for killing his kind. Which, Lee, I keep forgetting how to say her name, damn it. I'm gonna search it up for the next video to say her name right. So, pretty much she says, what do you mean, your kind? With Asta just explaining, he was in the demon underworld, mostly being all beat up, and like she told Liebe's backstory and she understood, saying, "So we have a common goal then. Why not let's work together to destroy this to work again to get to that common goal." Stating like they both have a common ground and they agree, but something happens, and Liebe sees, "Hey, why are there more visitors than there should be?" With also saying, "What do you mean? There's about 8 people here. Why is that?" 8? I don't see any. And right as he said that, he just looked around. He just looks behind him and he says, "Who are you?" For go like walk forward, stating, "I," like with the a bird look thing that just walks up, stating, "I am Rivali, and you should be grateful for my presence." With also stating, just thinking, stating, well, mostly thinking, but yelling, saying, "You have a massive ego, and I do not like it." Rivali just screaming, saying, "Hey, what you say to me, brat?" With Urbosa just comes up and hits him in the back of the head, saying, "Respect, show some respect, Rivali." And she says, "I am Urbosa, and I say hello, and I greet you, new hero." And a girl that looks like that has weird fins and looks like a fish, it kindly says, "Good, it's kind nicely to meet you. I am Mifa." And then a weird thing with that looks like a giant boulder comes running towards him and says, "Hey, little guy, name's Daruk." And then for some reason he sees 4 others, but he doesn't see the face or nothing. He just sees like silhouettes of those 4 people. But Asta said, "Who are you? And why are you here?" With them saying, "We are the ones that gave you our powers. Don't you remember?" And he said, "What do you mean, powers?" "Well, you may not know now, but you have my fury." And Mifa says, "You have my grace. Dorux, you have my protection." And Raleigh says, "Well, of course, you have my amazing gale." With Asa saying, what do you mean by that?" And so pretty much, they just explain, and they said, "Didn't the spirit of the sword explain it to you?" He says, "What do you mean?" And then I remember it's 5 saying, "Don't you remember the orbs that went towards you?" And he says, "Oh, those! But what are they?" It's their powers. The grace of Mifa, the protection from Daruk, Ravali's gale, and Urbosa's fury. And Asta asks, "But what do they do?" And Phi says, "I already explained it to you. Each one has their abilities. One, Mifa has healing properties. It can heal anyone and almost anything, but it cannot heal a severed arm or anything. Daruk's protection is almost like a barrier, a magical barrier that protects you from anything, but it can be weakened. Ravali's Gale can give you an immense boost of speed and also height jump, or you can also use it to glide. Urbosa's Fury can actually summon lightning from both attack and from the storm." And he's like, "Oh, but how do I use them?" "Don't worry, you will be able to use them in time. So I recommend you practice. after today. And he was about to ask, who are they? And then he hears a rooster, and then he says, then everything was starting to turn into like black, like black. And then he just was saying, wait, I still have more. And then when he yells out, questions, and he's like, damn it, I guess I'm gonna have to go. Damn it, that was a weird dream. With Vi stating, it was not a dream, it was actually your mindscape. So, and Asta just states, what? Mindscape? So you were in my head, and I was talking to these champions, she said, if I remember correctly? She states, yes. So I recommend you train and learn how to use each of their powers and abilities. And so pretty much, he just went and practiced each and every single one of them in different days. First, it was Daruk's protection, which was actually the easiest for him to use. The next one that he was able to master was Mifa's Grace. And then later it was Revali's Gale, which was a bit more difficult, but he was still able to master it nonetheless. Because remember, he is actually this Asta is actually a really fast learner. And then Urbosa's Fury, which actually kind of scared a lot of the villagers and and Zelda. And let's say Zelda and actually followed Asta to his training grounds, and there was like some failures of him trying to summon Urbosa's Fury, which sometimes let's say shocked him, pun intended. Like he shocked himself, and sometimes the lightning bounces off and ricochets everywhere. And then they were pretty much shocked of what he was doing, and it didn't show the soul yet, because it's like he's trying to master it. Right now he's able to understand what he's doing, but when he's mastered, it's like showing the soul of the champion. So then he just says, I guess I just used Daruk's protection this time. So he throws Urbosa's Fury, and then uses Daruk's protection, which shows a soul. It shows a soul, and then it kind of backfired, where the lightning actually went past the shield and attacked him. So then he decided, so he used Mifa's Grace, and it looks like a girl, some type of person or creature or whatever, was healing him. It looks like a soul that it was healing him. So pretty much, he kept trying and trying, and he was able to master it, which was the most difficult. And then the day came when they were going to leave the village. And Zelda came up to Asta saying, what were you doing for training? And what were those people or things that were showing up when you were using their abilities? Asta pretty much just says, wait, how do you know? With them just remembering that they didn't go up to Asta and say, what are you doing? They were mostly spying on him. And just bluntly says, oh, we were just spying on you. Well, Zilla's just screaming, don't tell him we were spying on him! And then they go to Clover Kingdom. They make it there, and oh wait, sorry. Let's go back a bit. Sorry, because I forgot this a little bit. So pretty much, they said, you want to said, you want to race Asta to the kingdom? Sure, why not? And then Fi says, Master, I actually remember something from one of the heroes. And Asta says, oh, what is it, Fi? Did you bring the tablet? And Asta says, yes, why? There's actually something that the hero left there. He says, well, bring out the tablet. He says, okay, so what is it? And she says, press this button. And this button there's this button that shows like an icon of a horse. When he presses it, it starts like weird lights start appearing, and then it was a weird thing. It looks like a horse, but it's not. And a weird thing comes out of the tablet, which was filled with light, and Asta says, "Whoa, what is that?" And Feist states, "This is the Master Cycle Zero. One of the heroes used to use to actually get faster to place. And I thought this may be useful, and also the hero told me that this may be useful for you on your adventure." With Asta saying, can you please thank him? Can you please thank him for me? This is amazing." And they pretty much both Zelda and Yuno were like not surprised at this point, saying, "What will not surprise us?" With Asta saying, "Zelda, you wanna ride?" With Yuno saying, "Hey, why don't you ask me a ride?" With Asta just saying, "You can fly, remember? Me and her cannot. And besides, I don't have any magic, remember?" With Yuno says, "Good point." Then pretty much they race to the palace with Yuno saying, with Yuno being technically third, since Zelda was on the bike, and the bike is pretty fast and sturdy. And surprisingly, Asta knew how to ride it. And Zelda was surprised by this, saying, "How do you know how to ride this?" With Asta saying, "I don't know. I'm just doing this by instinct. I don't know how to drive." And saying, "This is way better than a broom." Then when they get there, Asta says, "How do I put this away?" With Faye saying, "The same way you summoned it." Him saying, "Oh." So he pressed the button again, and all the light starts going into the tablet. And says, "That's pretty neat." So then they go to, this is where they go to get into the exam, or whatever you call it. They show their grimoires, which the guy says, like, screams out through his like lungs, saying, 2 4-leaf grimoires, which everyone was shocked. With Asta just pulling out his book and says, sorry, grimoire. And the guy says, "A 5-leaf grimoire," which everyone was so surprised that commoners had these type of grimoires. It's like they whispered about, like hearing about this. So they go inside and they do the exam. If I remember correctly, the first was flying, if I remember. But by that was happening, before we go there, those birds were going around Asta, but not like on him or pegging him or whatever. They were just like chilling, doing nothing, just sleeping. One was Nero on top of the head of Asta, which he didn't mind. So pretty much, everyone sees this, and they thought he might have been weak because of how many I forgot what the birds were called, but how many birds were actually near him. But they were confused of why they were not on him. So pretty much, it's mostly because of the Master Sword, of course. It gives a certain aura, like a peaceful aura. Then pretty much, they do the exam with the brooms. Asta doesn't try, just throws away the broom because he knows he can't use magic to fly. Everyone was confused, but the only thing he can think of is just Rivali's scale, but he said, nah. He just thought, saying, nah, that would be a bit too obvious. So he just threw it to the side. Everyone thought he was quitting, but no, he was just waiting for the next part of the exam. And I forgot, I skipped a little part. It's when Asta bumped into Yami. Yami still said the same thing as, "You want to die, kid?" With Asta instinctively like going to the handle of the sword, he's like raising a lot of bloodlust or like type of energy that almost the whole arena can feel, and everyone just keeps shaking like uncontrollably. And Zelda say, "Not this again." And Yami